Hey everybody, I am working on the Quasar Sanctum app extension, which I'm guessing you already knew because you probably looked at the title of this video. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to sort of spend a bit of time when I do my work on various things that I wouldn't usually stream. Maybe just do a bit of time streaming them. It does slow me down a little bit, but it's kind of fun to I don't know, it kind of motivates me to jump onto a stream and sort of, chill out with you guys. And people can usually give me some cool ideas along the way. So, hey, here we are doing a stream. Damn it, that means I need to do everything on one screen now. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of what the extension currently does. So if we go to the login.view, this is a page where you can log in, just a bunch of stuff that I can use for testing the login. I got login as John as example, but I think that account is actually deleted now. So might have to register first. So this is what I've currently been working on, the register page. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make this register component as basic as possible, but then you can change the input props if you want. You can change the button styling yourself, all that kind of stuff you'll do yourself. But then I'll also supply a page component that has this whole thing styled for you. So if you want to get up and running ridiculously fast, then you can just use the page component. Otherwise, you can sort of custom build your own register form here. But yeah, I've been playing around with the errors, trying to get that stuff right, dealing with responses from the server. And that seems to be going good now. But let's just try making an account here so I can show you what it looks like. And I believe this is just password and password. Let me just check. Yeah, it looks like that's the same thing. Yeah, cool. And that's redirected me to an auth-only page. So this page should only be accessible by someone who is authorized. So one of the first things I can do is test if that works. So this is me logged in here. By the way, I've got a logout button component that you can customize yourself, which is this thing here. And so if I click on that, that should log me out. Now, if I try to go back to that auth-only route, it's not going to work. You can see it tries to fetch the user, notices that I'm not authenticated, sends me back to the register page, which is really, really cool. And a lot of this is like customizable. If I try to go to a public route, though, I can go to it if I'm not logged in. I can try and fetch the current user. That's not going to work because I'm not logged in. However, if I log in now, I believe it was luke@ldbol.com. Password, let's try that. There we go. I've logged in, and this notification won't come up by default. That's just showing me that the emit is working on this component, emitting success. Then I can come in here and fetch the user, and we can see that that works. So it's just a whole bunch of helpful stuff to help you hook up Quasar to Sanctum. And what I'm basically working on is trying to implement the entirety of Laravel Fortify with this. So it's kind of like Jetstream, but for Quasar, which I thought would be really cool. And then I can have I could even have a component for your whole account management page built with Quasar. And if you want, you can use that. Otherwise, you can choose not to use that. And so, yeah, I've just been working on all the features for that. Stuff like, auth-only routes. And another feature, which I actually thought of, because I needed it the other day, is unauthenticated only routes. So a route that if you try to go to it and you're authenticated, it sends you back to your home page, which in this case is the auth-only page. And this is all customizable. So let me give you an idea of what the customization looks like. So when you install the plugin, you're going to get this Sanctum auth. No, it's not that. What am I talking about? We want to go to dev. You're going to get sanctum.conf.js. And this is where you can configure it. And by default, it will use a whole bunch of sensible defaults for you. I'm thinking of even including a store, like a really basic user store. So this is the one I'm using for testing. Super ridiculously basic stuff, which basically just sets a user and allows you to get that user that you set. So it's just like a super ridiculously basic store that allows you to start playing around with this quickly. And then the idea is you would implement the get local user command yourself so that, anyway, I don't know why I'm explaining this whole thing to you. I guess I kind of need to explain it before we can start, before you can understand what I'm doing as I develop it. You can do things like have public routes. So if you have a landing page, for example, you'd say, for example, /landing, or whatever, and you can add it in there, and that means anyone will be able to go to that route. So all routes by default are not public because most of your routes for your app are not going to be public. And then you basically select which ones you want to be public. And I'm thinking about implementing a feature where you can basically invert that and say, rather than public routes, how about we have the option to choose, I want public routes or I want not public routes. Home URL, this is where you're sent to once you're logged in. Unauthenticated only routes. This is something I recently implemented because I personally needed it. And the classic example of that would be your register page. So by default, your register page is an unauthenticated only route because if you are authenticated, you don't want to be able to view the register page, right? If I'm logged in, I should not be able to go to the register page. It should not work. So that's how that works. Stuff like fetching the CSRF cookie, like I made it so you can hook into all of the events as well, and that's what all that is. Me testing if all of that works, hooking into the events. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on. Now I'm going to get back to it, and I'm currently on the register page. So I've got the Sanctum register form, and I'm using a composable for this because I want you, the consumer, to be able to either use my register form, which is, I'm going to have to jump out of full screen here. Oh, what's going on? Whoops. Jump out of full screen. Oh no, I was already out of full screen. So let's do this. So it's going to be easier to work on. Yeah, so if you want, you can use the composable yourself and you will get all of the register form functionality. So all the stuff you need, like, let's go down to the bottom here. Getting the server errors, getting the form itself that you can like manipulate. This is the ref to the form, which is something that I need to actually implement it. Handling form submit, that's all going to be available to you if you want to fully customize this yourself. Otherwise, you can just use my component, which actually uses that use register user composable. Yeah, so that's the plan. That's what I'm working on. So let's go ahead and continue. So if I jump out of here, let's log out and then come back here and go to our test register form. So that works. Not having an email works. I want to have it also work for not having a username. And I think I can just literally copy paste that in there. So let's just say name there and see if that's going to work for us as well. So let's get rid of the name. And there we go. The name field is required. Cool. So that's working. Now, what about if the passwords don't match? We want that functionality as well. And I think I can do that by simply saying down here the exact same thing. So let's have, whoop. This one's a password confirmation. So password underscore confirmation. Is that how it works, or do you just have a password error bag? You know what? Let's just find out. If I open up the console there, we jump into full screen. Give that something, give that something. What error do we get from the back end? And for simplicity's sake, I'm doing all of the error handling logic on the back end, and later on I might implement a bit of error handling on the front end as well. But yeah, that's maybe for later on. So the password field is required, and I get that under the password namespace. What if I put this in? Do I get it under password confirm? No, I also get that under password. Sweet. So password confirm, I don't actually need to handle any errors there. I just need to handle them here under password. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. So I already know that works, and I know that works. And so we just need to test the password confirmation now. What am I doing? I'm going to come in here and put in luke@ldball.com or whatever. And let's check if those errors show up correctly. And that does. What about if they don't match? The password field is required. And now it says the password confirmation does not match. So that's exactly what we desire. So now I just want to check if all of my UI related stuff is working for this. So what I should be able to do here when I'm consuming the form, this is my test page, by the way, so that's this page here, and this is the component itself that we are testing. So let's have a little play around with the styling here. Let's wrap that in a Q-card. Just want to make sure that as a consumer, I can style this however I like. A Q-card section as well. Nice. Now, another thing I would probably do if I was styling this is I'd put a width on this. Style is equal to, or maybe like a max width of, I don't know, 400 pixels. Let's try that. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. And we'll end up having a password reset, so I'll have to implement that as well, then implement that on the register form. So I'm going to add that to my to-do list. I've actually got a to-do.js file where I can put all of this stuff. So password reset, let's put that further up the list. Maybe even make it like a priority number 1. And then we can have another one here after that saying register user form password reset. And then I can say can turn on or turn and off with Boolean. So basically I want to be able to say something like with reset, and that will allow you to have the password reset part implemented as well. And if you don't have that, it's just not going to have the password reset part. I don't know, maybe that way, or maybe I make it so that you need to use a slot to throw that in yourself. I don't know, I have to think about that. It's kind of hard to walk that line between flexibility and not. Now this looks really ugly, so but I've given the user complete control over how they customize this. So let's say input-props, and now what I should be able to do, what I want to test here, is can I say, for example, field is equal to true. Let's try that. Okay, so they're all doing that except for the name one. So let's jump out of here, come up. All right, for some reason I didn't add the input props onto there, so let's go ahead and add that on. And there we go, refresh the page, and that's working. So we can customize that however we like. And another input prop I've got available, sorry, not an input prop, I think I've got like button dash props. And so I want to be able to say, for example, we have to make that interpreted. Maybe like you've got a class where you say Q-margin top medium. And the reason I don't have that by default is I want the user to feel like they need to sort of implement this themselves. Now, why isn't that happening? Where's my props? Okay, register button props. It's probably good that I was more specific here. I don't know. It's pretty obvious it's going to be a register button, so maybe we can just say button props. No, because you can have a password reset button as well, so we need to be specific there. And then we give that, for example, a label equal to register. And then I'd probably do something like this, but the point is you have full control. You can do this however you like. And I'd probably say, for example, unelevated, because I like that style. So set that equal to true. Why don't you make a playlist instead so that we can follow along? This particular thing, I don't know, maybe I should have like a playlist for this sort of stuff. This was just me randomly saying, hey, I'm going to work on this anyway. Why not stream it? So I do have a playlist that this is in, which is just the Quasar Life. I think it's called the Quasar Life playlist. Let me just click on the edit button. I can tell you what it's called in a second. Yeah, okay, it's called Real Life Quasar. So I've got a playlist where basically I'm going to sit down, work on stuff, and just do real life Quasar related stuff. But I think I should get a little bit more specific with my playlists and maybe have one for like clone applications and then a playlist for working on app extensions. You know what? I think you've brought up a good point there. I should probably do that in the future so you guys can more easily access the stuff that you actually want to have a look at. So if you're interested in looking at app extension stuff, you can go, oh, I'm going to look at the app extension related stuff. So yeah, that's a really good point, RJ. I'll endeavor to do that. Call me out. If I don't do it in the future, call me out on it and say you were going to do it, because I don't want to be someone who doesn't do the things they'll say they'll do. All right, so this button, I want to have loading as well. So loading is equal to loading. And I believe I've already got that, set up. So let's go to network. And if we go full screen here, I can say slow to check if that's going to work. Even though we're going to get errors, it should still work. No, that did not work. All right, so that's probably got something to do with what's happening behind the scenes. Let's go to our use register user. Hang on, I'll just take this back off. Bring that back to no throttling, and then we'll send it back in a second. So why isn't that happening? Handle submit form. So that's where I should be saying loading.value is equal to true. So that's when I start submitting the form. And this is where, okay, so I probably shouldn't do it there. The finally is sitting in the wrong spot there. So it gets a CSRF token, it registers the user, and basically we'll say a finally here, dot finally, and then I can say loading.value is equal to false. Let's see if that works now. There's still a few things I need to implement around this, but that's all right. Oh, another thing I want to do is rather than just loading it, I also want to disable it. So you don't get that problem where people accidentally click on it twice. There's disable and there's disabled, and I can never remember the two. One of them allows you to still click on the button, and so it's just a disabled styling, and one of them actually disables the clicking on the button. I can't remember what the two are. But anyway, let's give this a test now. So we'll change that to slow 3G and give it a crack. And we are getting nothing. All right, what's going on here? Loading. Let's check that loading is a ref. Yep, it's a ref that's equal to false. So I should be able to say loading.value, is it being exposed? No, I'm not exposing it. That's a bit silly of me. So now that I'm exposing it, that should work. So we'll come back here, go to no throttling so that we make sure we pull in the latest version of the app. And then we'll go slow. And there we go. We get the spinner. And now let me check that I also can't click on that several times. Yeah, sweet. Look, so that'll look good on a slow connection. And I'm clicking, and it looks like it's not sending the request again. So I did use the right version of disable there. Cool. All right, that's what we want. I don't know why it's trying to fetch the user again, so that's a bug I need to pick up there. So how about we say here in our to-do list, it's not a terrible bug, so let's put it on a lower priority. Let's say here, fetching when registering user fails, it's trying to fetch the user for some reason. That'll do. I'll understand what that means. Cool. All right, let's unthrottle this and move on to the next thing. So change that back to no throttling. Throw that over there. What else do I need? So I've got all of the error handling done. If I were doing this, actually another thing that I would do if I was styling this is I would say, what is it's called? It's called like no bottom or something, or hide bottom. That's right, hide bottom. Set that equal to true. And I think, okay, no, that's not doing anything. I might have to look at the docs here to figure out what that is. So I believe it's like hide bottom, something like that. Oh, I'm on the wrong docs. Let's move to Quasar version 2. And, oh, I love this new API Explorer. Let's use that. So let's say Q input, and there's a way we can basically hide the bottom, and the bottom only shows when there are actually errors there. So it might be hide bottom slot. So let's just look for the word hide here. Oop. Hide bottom space. That's what it is. All right. So hide bottom space. Set that equal to true. And the reason I'm styling this exactly how I want to style it for now is so that I can actually go ahead and build this component when I'm ready to build it. So what I'll do now is I'll say, we also want to say class q-margin bottom. Let's set that to small. Maybe medium. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And you might change the styling to something that you like. So in this case, I can probably get rid of the margin top entirely there. Yeah, that looks good to me. And we're going to need a slot up here and under here, I reckon. And we'll also need a before input fields and after input fields. That's going to be really important because I have no doubt at all that people are going to want to have more access over that in case they want to show like some extra stuff. So let's have a look at how we would do that. Let's go to the register form. And there's one called prepend. So prepend will be before the input. We'll say prepend and append. and then we'll have top and bottom. I think that's what we'll do here. Yep. So let's start with top and bottom. So we'll have a slot here, and we'll give it a name equal to top. And I think that is all we need to do there. Yeah, this is actually going to be really simple if it's as simple as I think it will be. And this is going to be a slot for the bottom. I don't think it really needs any data there in its scope. I don't know. But then we can have another one here that we'll call... I don't really need a prepend. It's kind of redundant, isn't it? Because you could just add that to the top. So let's not do a prepend. I don't want to have redundant slots that don't make any sense. Then again, the good thing about having prepend and append is it gives you a consistent API. So I am actually going to do this slot. Name is equal to append. So we'll do that. How will I lay this out? Maybe like that. Yeah. And then this can be... No, this should be append, and the other one should be prepend. Prepend. Yeah, I don't know. I think I like that more. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's test those slots. And imagine that we want to have a title on this register form. We might do something like this. We might say template, and then we might say, for example, top, and then we'll put like, I don't know, H4 in there. H1, I literally just said H4. Why did that happen? I don't know. And then this could be, say, something like register. So there we go. That works beautifully. And then you'd probably do something like Q-margin Y and set that to something like medium just to get rid of a lot of that space in there. However you want to do it. Margin Y, it looks like it's got some padding as well. But that doesn't matter. You get the point. So we got a register at the top there. Let's check that we can append something at the bottom. So let's just say we got bottom here, and we want to say something like thank you, and then have an emoji, which is a smiley face. Smile. And we might just turn that into, I don't know, a div. Let's try that. Cool. We can get that bottom slot. That works. Class equals Q-margin top small. So that shows that that works. We'll also put a full width on here and text dash center. Very nice. What else? Another thing we might want to do is, oh wait, look, we should actually just check the prepend and append work. So let's just say I want to put an extra field in that I'm going to handle myself. Template and hashtag prepend. I've put this in a terrible position. Really, that should be sitting under there. So something like this, prepend, and a div there that basically says, I don't know, prepend. And the most common reason they'll probably do this is to have their own input. So let's say Q-input, which means that I should probably make it possible for you to append fields as well. But maybe I'm getting a little bit overboard here with this example. You might have an input, I don't know, that says whatever. And there we go, that works. So I'm pretty happy with that. Just for testing purposes, I'm going to put in the word prepend, and then another one at the bottom that says append. Because the point of this whole thing is just to show that all of the slots do work. This is just a testing file. So append, let's save that. Prepend, append, and the whole thing works. Cool. All right, I'm happy with that. What else did we want to do for this form? We've got all the slots we need. Let's check that the flow when you actually register works well. And we might have to make sure that we're actually catching all errors along the way. So let's come to... By the way, I've just thought about why I might be fetching the user. So we're saying register the user, then fetch the user. So we're obviously not catching any errors here. Auth.register catch, handle register. Yeah, okay. So then once that's catched, does that mean that this is not going to get catched until the end? Looks like I have a fundamental misunderstanding of how promise chaining works. Because I thought the register user would then get called, um, it would fail, and therefore this would be caught. But it seems to carry on anyway. All right. Anyway, let's have a crack at this and see what happens. I have to look at my network here. Oh man, it's kind of hard to see when you're using a smaller screen. Let's just go full screen. So register is giving us the wrong thing. Then it is actually calling that part of the promise chain. Okay, cool. This is a good opportunity for me to learn. So maybe that means I can do a catch here. I don't know. Let's just say console.log caught here and see if that actually gets caught. And then it's going to squawk at me because it wants me to return the error there. So let's give that a go and see what happens. Register. Looks like that's not actually doing anything. So that is not getting called. Huh. So I think the problem is basically that this is not throwing an error. And then it's returning the error there. So I need a better understanding of promise chaining. I've never done promise chaining like this before, and I wanted to give it a try. I could use async await here, but I actually prefer promise chaining when you do it right. This looks really, really clean to me. And I feel like it's hard to get that nice story with async await, but I don't know. Pros and cons of both. So then I'm guessing it's going to try to go to the home URL. You know what? Let's actually have a look at what happens if I comment those out. I want to see if this actually is. Okay, so it is actually still... Oh, all right. So it looks like that's still trying to... How about this? Let's console.log here and see if that comes out when I try to register. Ha! Okay, that's not getting caught, so it's something else. Something else is happening here. When I try and register the user, let's see what happens in auth.register. So Sanctum auth, and then here I think I've got register, and then we've got on register. That's getting called from the config, so maybe I'm doing something funky in my config. Let's see, on register. No, I've got no, I'm not calling on register. There's no hooks going on there. So, what could this be? Yeah, I don't see anything there that would redirect me to that page. Maybe there's something in the response. You know what? I bet you that's it, actually. I bet you in my response, it's redirecting me. Is this giving me a redirect? I don't think so. It's a 422. I don't even know if a 422 can redirect you. And it wouldn't make sense for it to redirect me anyway. So why is this getting called? What is going on there? There's probably a way I can actually check out where that's getting called from. So let's try this again. And let's see if we can dig in and find out. Actually, I can probably find it here. Okay, so it's in Sanctum auth. Fetch user is getting called. Where am I before that happens? All right, so it looks like it is coming from the queue. All right, use register. So maybe auth. Why would... So it is getting called there. Man, this is confusing the crap out of me. Then auth.fetch user. So it's telling me that is getting called. I believe that's what I just read there in the console. So why does that get called then? This is my big question. And that does not get called. Let's try this again. Ah, that is getting... Oh, wait, that was successful. Oh, crap. All right, so let's bring us back to what we had before. But I'm not logged in. All right, so that's causing confusion. All right, well, now that that's working in a different way than it seemed to be before, I'm going to try this again. So let's get the error in there. Let's see if we can console.log it and then return that error. And when we get a register user error, I would expect that to be catched. Console.log. No, instead of doing the error, actually, let's say we are here, like from Horton Hears a Who. And I'm not getting that. So, whoops. Let's try it again. No. Okay, so then let's dig a little bit deeper here. Then we try to register the user. Maybe we shouldn't be catching it here. Maybe instead of saying .catch there, handle register error, I should be moving that .catch to here, to somewhere down here. So let's just see if it gets called now, if I get rid of that .catch. Because it probably can't catch something twice. Okay. All right, that's making sense to me now. Cool. Actually, you know what? This looks even cleaner. So register the user, handle register error. Then authenticate, try and fetch the user. And then what I could do here is basically say catch handle fetch user error. So we could have that functionality as well. Const handle fetch user error is equal to, we'll pull in the error. And then for now, actually I think I've got it somewhere in use auth. What is it? Sanctum auth. So you've got register, so fetch, I feel like there's a fetch user error. Or maybe it's in the config. So sanctum.conf, here it is here. Error notifier. Yeah, okay, so I guess I could, I don't know. This whole thing is kind of a little bit weird to me. So how about we go to the to-do bit, and basically say think through error handling strategy. Because I think I need a better strategy there. But for now, let's do something a little bit more hard-coded, even though it won't be as customizable for the user, where we'll say handle fetch user error, and then we'll return the error here, but we're also going to do a console.log where we just say error fetching user. And you know what? Really, we should say something like on fetch user error. Maybe we could do that. On fetch. But even if we have an on fetch user error, I don't really want it sitting in this register file. I would want that sitting inside of my Sanctum auth file, where basically all of the authorization logic sits. All right, anyway, so let's carry on with this for now. Handle fetch user error. I just want to make sure that this flow does actually work the way I expect it to. Then we're going to go to the home URL, and finally, maybe we can even clean this up slightly by saying set loading to false. Or maybe just set loading, and then we can pass through false. So this becomes a little bit more reusable. And how about this? Const set loading is equal to a very basic function that basically says loading.value is equal to whatever we pass through there. So is loading, how about that? Is loading. I don't think that's actually going to work. Yeah, I have to do this. And then we could just return loading. Seems reasonable. Is loading. Cool. And now this reads really nicely. So fetch the cookie. Try and register the user. If we don't, handle that error, and I can change that later on and make that more customizable for the user, for the consumer of this the Sanctum plugin. Then try and fetch the user now that we've logged in. If that fails, give us an error. Then take me to the home URL if I was able to do that successfully. Hello. How do I say your name? Is it Juan or Juan? Oh goodness, I'm probably butchering that. We get a lot of people from Brazil. There's a guy on the Quasar team called Tobias, and he is an absolute legend. I'm pretty sure he's from Brazil, and he is very, very intelligent. He has the most amazing answers. He seems to always have the most amazing answers to a lot of my questions. Cool. Oh wow, Brazil is a lot larger than I thought it was. Then again, I have no global knowledge at all. My geography is atrocious. Nice. Whereabouts in Brazil are you from? Okay, let's look up that. I'm just going to copy that. I like seeing where people are from. Cool. And now I think I can let's do satellite. It's always more interesting, I reckon, when you do satellite view, terrain. Well, let's just go satellite. Satellite. Does that work? Is it working? Nice. Oh, it's doing this cool layers thing. Did I see McDonald's? Hey, they got McDonald's in Brazil as well. Cool. Man, I would love to explore this mountainous area over here. Very green, isn't it? Very green. Okay, anyway, back to work. Nice to meet you and nice to see where you're from. Okay, so what was I working on? Okay, I wanted to see if this whole process worked. And now I should be testing the process all the way through though. Why did that just do that? Oh gosh. If it catches the error, does it actually stop? Okay, we can test that. We can come up here and say, where's that? Handle register error. Here it is here. Console.log handle register error. So just so I can get a bit of a view of what's actually going on here. So then we can say here, this is handle fetch error. I honestly find this easier than using debuggers, but maybe I'll change my mind one of these days. So we're handling that area. I want to see if it stops on the first error or not. That's what I'm trying to figure out now. So test register form, register. So we get that. Okay, so we're not stopping at an error. So my next question is then, how can I make sure I do actually stop on an error? And I might do a bit of research into that. So let's say promise chaining stop on catch. Or maybe I'm just using promises wrong. Break promise chain and call a function based on the state. Yeah, that kind of looks like what I'm looking for. Then, oh, cool. This guy's using Quasar as well, I think. $Q. That would be a weird coincidence. I kind of have solved it. I'm catching the error at the end. Oh, that looks funky though. All right. The reason your code is actually doing something different from what you think it does. Let's say you do something like the following. Then, okay. To better understand what's happening, let's pretend this is synchronous code. Try catch. Okay, so it's trying. It's almost like it's doing a try on all of these things. The on-rejected handler, the second one, then is essentially an error correction mechanism like a catch block. If an error is thrown in, it will be caught by the next catch block, and so on. Let's say we want the entire resolution chain to fail. What goes wrong? Gotta admit, I don't fully understand this. This is probably getting boring, but hey, this is me trying to figure something out. We can leave the handle error 1 where it is, because it will only be invoked if step 1 rejects. So if that rejects, that gets invoked. The chain is rejected at this point. It can. The important change is that the error handler for the other functions are not part of the main promise chain. Yeah, I don't get it. It sounds like, it kind of looks like though, kind of, oops, wrong window. Like he's doing something like this, then, and then passing it through as a different parameter. What do we, on rejected. On rejected, handle register error. The callback to issue with the promise rejected attaches callbacks to the register, enters or rejection of the promise. A promise for the. All right, well, let's just try it and see what happens. And I don't like my chances, but let's have a crack. Can I just return false instead of the error itself? Man, this is like me learning basic promise stuff now. Well, I wouldn't call this basic promise stuff. Let's see what happens though if when this errors. So basically, this is the part that I want to figure out. How do I make it so that this, let's just return here, false. Oh, no, don't delete that. Just comment it out there. Or better still, let's just do this then. Let's return false there and just comment that out. Let's see if that works now. Nope. So that isn't what did it. I might just do a quick page refresh in case there was something that didn't quite get updated there. If anyone's like a pro at promise chaining, then please do speak up rather than watching me in agony. But I think this is going to be a valuable lesson I learned because I've always wanted to write code like this. I think it's so much cleaner. But this error handling has always been a problem for me. I don't really know how to do it properly. And so I think once I learn this is going to make my code a lot nicer in the future. Handle everyone. The important. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to go through this and literally read it carefully. The reason your code doesn't work is actually doing something different from what you think. Let's say you have something like this. Okay, so I've read that. This is synchronous. So it's kind of like this will get caught, and then we will keep going down the chain. I think I kind of understand that, but not really. So the onRejected handler, what's that? What's the onRejected handler? Oh, okay, so that's on the promise itself, the second argument of then. Okay, cool, yep. Is essentially an error correction mechanism, like a catch block. Okay, if an error is thrown in handle error 1, this one here, it will be caught by the next catch block. Catch E2. Right, and so on. This is obviously not what you intended. Let's say we want the entire resolution chain to fail no matter what goes wrong. I don't really understand what he means by that, but let's carry on. So then oh, he's returning a then inside of his then. Okay, yeah, that's kind of like what I'm doing. Okay, so it looks like the error handling has been moved to these thens instead. Now we can leave the handle level error 1. So that's how you... will only be invoked if step 1 is rejected. So step 1, if that is rejected, this gets called. So we know that if the change is rejected at this point, it can only be because of the functions. Okay, so basically this gets run and then rejected gets called. Let's see if I can kind of convert what I'm hearing here. So we fetch the CSRF token. I'm not doing any error handling there. I probably should, but let's just forget about that for now. Then we say register user, and basically what we're doing here is we're catching that and then passing on to the next one. No, we can leave the important change is that the error handler for the other functions are not part of the main promise chain. Instead, it's its own subchain. Oh, okay. Okay, so if this rejects, basically we want the catch to be all the way at the bottom here. But we're going to be catching them internally. All right, I think I might understand this now. Basically, we want to move this into register user. Maybe we can do something like this. Register user dot catch and then handle register error. I think that's the gist of it, unless I'm completely getting this wrong again. Does that need to be returned, I wonder? Let's try this. Is that a crack? Man, I really need to disable this when I'm coding. It gets super annoying. Last pass. All right, let's give this a crack. Handle fetch user error got called. All right, so that did get called. So this did not fix it. What about what I had before? What was actually going wrong there? Dot catch is not a function. Oh, okay, because it's yeah. All right, this makes no sense. I can see how that makes no sense now. So let's grab that. Pretty sure I already tried that. But anyway, let's move the catch into here. Okay, so essentially what that's doing is it's calling this, it's getting an error, but then it comes down here and then gets caught there, I think. So I kind of need to comment that out as well. But I should not be doing a user fetch at all. Okay, cool. Oh, okay, I think I'm starting to understand this now. So register user gives us an error, okay, because it's caught here. Hi from France, woohoo! Okay, this is my tradition now. If you tell me where you're from, I'm going to look it up on Google Maps. This is why I like knowing where people are from. It's really cool because now I can do stuff like this. I can be like, France, and now you all know where I'm from. Newcastle, Australia, if you caught that. Wait, hang on. You're from France, but aren't you the guy from Tasmania? I think you're the guy from Tasmania, from memory. But we've got France representing, and then we've also got Brazil. So look at this. We got France over here. We got Brazil over here. And then we got me over here. Oh, how cool is that? All over the globe. Oh, Bastia. Okay, sorry. I got to go one step further now. Maps.google.com. Let's say Bastia, France. I think that's how you do it. And then I always like to take a look using terrain. Is this right? Am I in the right place? Right, am I in Bastia? Let's just run that again. I don't see any part of it that says Bastia though. Alright, I did my best. Oh my gosh. But France is so beautiful. It's actually my favorite place in the world. If I didn't live in Australia, I would want to live in France. I stayed at Saint Anthony Noble-Val. I'm probably completely demolishing that. Saint Anthony. I stayed in this place here once at an Airbnb, and it was just the most stunning place I've ever seen in my life. Like I was there with my girlfriend. It was so romantic. You need to create a space in Discord for. Would people want that? I mean, hey, if people are interested in that kind of thing, I guess I would do a Discord. And then people can let me know the kind of videos that they want to see. And I love answering questions with videos. Zoom out from Bastia. Okay. Oh gosh, yeah, this is bringing back beautiful memories. And this whole place was covered with like these pollen things that were floating in the air. It was even more beautiful than this picture. Honestly, it just took my breath away. Let's say France, Bastia, and I need to zoom out a little bit. And then I got to get back to work. But I get very curious about this stuff. Whoa! Ah! Hang on, that's France? So what's the line then? Where's it Italy and where is it France? Or did the French just colonize this area? Dude, I'm glad you told me to zoom out because that's blown my mind now. I've got a little bit of geography that most people probably don't have. Malta. I always hear about Malta, which surprises me. It's like such a small place. But there's actually a lot of people in Australia that are from Malta, crazily enough. But yeah, interesting. Okay, back to work. That was fun. So, okay, I've learned something very, very valuable here. You want your catches to be within your promise. So register user it should be responsible for its catch itself. And then if it has an error and it catches, basically we're going to go down the chain and find the first catch that we find. So in other words, I think that means that I want to go to this fetch user part here, and let's actually cut that. Let's do this. Let's say fetch user, and we're going to make something a little bit more custom here. I'm so excited if this works. I'm going to feel like I can make my code so effing clean if this works. Fetch user is equal to a function, and then we are going to return auth.fetchUser, and then here is where we will do the catch. So now this actually cleans things up dramatically, because now I can basically say, hey, here is the story of what happens, but each of these things can be responsible for their own catches, which is absolutely wonderful in my opinion. So now I think that will work. Yes! Oh my gosh, it worked! Now let's F up the API, so api.php. Let's screw this up by removing that route there. And let's log in with the proper details and see if it errors out for us. Luke at ldbold.com. Now this time, I should, if this worked, it should try to fetch the user, and then the catch should happen in here, handle fetch user error, and that's going to console.log handle fetch user. So I should only see a console.log of handle fetch user, and then maybe other stuff for like my hooks or whatever. Yes! Ah! Oh my god, it worked! Ah, this is so clean! I love it! I'm going to use this at work all the time now. Oh, that's my alarm going off telling me that it's been an hour, so I need to stop working. Stop! Google, stop! There we go, it worked. Okay, I'm just going to like do a bit of cleanup now and finish this off. And so maybe we could also do a catch at the end here for just to let the user know that there was a problem. I'm not trying to derail what you're doing, so no rush. Do you have an ORM and a database of choice? Absolutely, I do. Whew. So, oh man, I could talk about this for hours. Okay, I just finished this problem, and so I'm actually going to answer that question. But then I need to go because my girlfriend's coming back from she did like a 12-hour drive today. All the way from, what's it called? From a place called Buxton in Australia, all the way over here. It's like actually it's like a 14-hour drive, I think, in total, because she had to go through Tamworth, which is where I'm from. Anyway, so this is all working now. So to your question, do you have an ORM and a database of choice? So I use two ORMs. I use an ORM for the front end and an ORM for the back end. For the back end, I use Eloquent. So that's just the obvious one with Laravel. So since I use Laravel on the back end, Laravel uses Eloquent. And that basically allows me to have an API that looks like this on the back end. I can say, for example, user all to fetch all of my users. I can say user first to fetch a single user. Once I've got that user, I can then do something like, we could like assign that to a user. From a controller, you could just return that straight out. So you could say, for example, return user all. You could say like post all. You could do querying really easily as well. So you could say, for example, post where title is equal to something like my title. Why Laravel instead of Node.js? I just prefer writing Laravel code. I have not found a framework. There are nice frameworks out there that are coming out now. Like we've got stuff like Adonis.js, which is just Laravel on the back end. It really is. The guy who wrote Adonis basically just rewrote Laravel on the with Node.js. I just think it is beautiful, and I've never seen a Node.js type backend that has code that's more beautiful. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that JavaScript was written for the front end. And in my personal opinion, this is totally opinionated, I just don't think it's translated very well to the back end yet. Once again, like this is totally my opinion. I think PHP handles backend really, really beautifully. And a lot of the sort of asynchronous stuff, a lot of that problem's kind of been solved now. And so now that that's been solved, I kind of have no reason to go to a framework like what's the other one? There's like I keep forgetting it. It's the one with the bird. It's like the name of a bird or something. But yeah, that's the reason I use it. The other reason is the reason I use Laravel. The main reason is that it does a phenomenal job separating out your code. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go on this tangent. Let me give you all of the reasons that I love Laravel. And if you want to rip on me for being a Laravel fanboy, that's all right. I'll totally take it. If I scroll down here, this is one of the main reasons I love Laravel. The ecosystem is second to none. I have never seen an ecosystem, including Ruby on Rails. I've never seen an ecosystem that comes close to it. It's got amazing tools like Laravel Telescope, which allows you to very easily sort of hook into what's happening on the back end on your production server and whilst you're testing. Laravel Jetstream gives you a full authentication experience out of the box for free with Laravel, which you can customize to the nth degree. If you don't want all of the front end stuff with Jetstream, it's got something called Laravel Fortify, and that gives you stuff like password resets. In fact, that's what I've been building in this video. I've been building a Sanctum front end. So Sanctum allows you to basically interact with Laravel via an SPA or via a very simple API. That's why I love, that's one of the reasons I love Laravel Sanctum. And you know what? One of the biggest complaints lately about Laravel is actually what I love most about it. So a big complaint people have been having is that there's so many different ways to authenticate with Laravel now. This is wonderful. This is such a good thing. If you want to just do a basic SPA and only have Laravel as an API, Sanctum has got you covered. If you want to do things a little bit more, if you want something that's a lot more sort of integrated, then you can use something like Jetstream, and it will give you a full scaffold out of the box, done the way that the creator of Laravel thinks you should do it. If you don't like it, you can chuck it out, or you can customize it to the nth degree. Then you've also got Laravel Passport, which basically allows you to build an entire OAuth 2 API for free with no work. And I mean that, no work. You can build out an OAuth 2 API for Laravel. And then it's got this amazing library I've been using lately called Laravel Orion. And Laravel Orion, he's just updated the docs recently, so that's not going to work. Bugger. It's not Orion, sorry, it's Orion. Laravel Orion allows you to build like ridiculously flexible APIs with virtually no work, and you can then export that to the JSON API spec and import it to something like Laravel Passport, which is wonderful because then I can turn my entire API into something that I can utilize with Passport. Okay, I'm going to read down here. Is the best for a simple auth/SPA app, Quasar Laravel Duo. For simple auth, if you just want a very basic setup, I would use something like Firebase. However, I hate using Firebase because, and the reason I hate using Firebase is that when I hit a wall with Firebase, it takes a lot of effort and it's kind of gross to fix that problem. So you have to do like weird serverless stuff. I'm not a big fan of serverless. It's totally another debate though. Some people love it. It's just not for me. The monolith just sits a lot better for me, and I've never built anything that would justify serverless. Having said that, Laravel does allow you to go serverless using Laravel Vapor if you need to, but you can build it in a monolith kind of way. So you get a serverless, you get the benefits of serverless, but it's kind of a monolith feel. Let me just keep going down the questions here. So is the best for... So I use Laravel Sanctum. So specifically, I use Laravel Sanctum. I'm currently building a plugin, which is what this video was about, which is an app extension that allows you to use Sanctum with Quasar easily. I just made a connection. Did you gravitate to Vue because Taylor Otwell loved it? Yeah, pretty much. It's actually less Taylor Otwell and more Laracast. Okay, so that brings me to my next massive benefit to Laravel. It has got, in my opinion, the greatest teacher on the planet teaching the framework, and that's Jeffrey Way. So he created a website called laracast.com. I'm a lifetime subscriber now. I paid like the $300 or whatever it was to become a lifetime subscriber, and this is the best platform on the planet for learning a programming language. I'm open to being challenged on that, but he is the best explainer I have ever seen, and that's why I created QuasarCast. I'm basically trying to follow in his footsteps. Um, so that's one of the other reasons I love it. This website taught me to be a programmer. This is how I learned to code via Laracast. And it taught me, yeah, like QuasarCast, and it taught me how to be a good developer. Another great thing about Laravel, it kind of guides you towards good practices from the beginning. The fact that it's got like a service container, it breaks things up into controllers and to policies and allows you to very easily pull your code apart. It's got answers for things like jobs and stuff like that. And it's got answers that allow you to build code in a way that is clean. And so if you learn the Laravel way, you learn a whole bunch of good coding practices by accident. I accidentally learned a lot of the solid principles by simply doing things the Laravel way from the beginning. And that all of that, I got it through Laracast. And so it's just got this amazing... It's not just the framework, it's the ecosystem that he's managed to build. So I don't know how he did it, but somehow Taylor Otwell, Laravel's been around for about 10 years now. Somehow he created, like from the beginning, he had this amazing commitment to code quality, which meant that people that created Laravel plugins wanted to adhere to that standard. And I feel it as well now. Whenever I do something with Laravel, at the back of my mind, I'm like, this guy has had such a high standard for his code, and he's got such a high standard of extracting his code and keeping it decoupled, that I want to follow that standard myself. And because of that, I've become a way better programmer. So like I'm obsessed. I mean, I could go on, and I'm going to go on because I can't help talking about this. Laravel Spark, you can build out a website where you can charge people for money with no work. It's all done for you with Laravel Spark. And when I say no work, I mean almost literally no work. Obviously, you need to do a couple of things like set up your plans and set up Stripe and all that kind of stuff. But it is so easy to customize and so well thought out, and it costs $99 for one project. I find that mind-blowing. Once you've got this set up, you don't have to have any other services anymore. You just use Laravel Spark, and now I've got all the tools I need to start charging people for money. And so that's one of the reasons I commit to Laravel on the back end. I can now use Laravel Spark. I can use Horizon to handle my jobs, and I can use Laravel. Where is it? I can use Laravel Echo to send things to the front end. So events to the front end. What do they call that? WebSocket type stuff. That's all been handled using Laravel Echo. If you want to use Docker, Laravel Sail. If you want to have a development environment where you can say, for example, my site test for all of your sites, where you literally don't have to do any setup, there's Laravel Valet. I think it only works on Mac and Linux, but there's also other stuff for Windows. If you want to do browser testing, like Dusk has got you covered. If you want to create an entire admin panel, if you write code the Laravel way, it can scaffold out an entire admin panel for you using Laravel Nova. This is a paid product, and that's the other thing. The creator himself creates products, and that's how it becomes profitable. I honestly think he's just been a complete genius, Taylor, in the way he's marketed this, where Laravel is free. A lot of the tools on top of it is free. But the stuff that actually sits on the web, a lot of the stuff that sits on the web, like, oh gosh, that brings me to Laravel Forge. If you want to deploy your code, you use Laravel Forge, and this is what I use to deploy all of my code. And it sets up everything the Laravel way for you, and you have to do virtually, once again, no extra work, because it knows it's a Laravel app. It's kind of like what are the other ones called? Like I don't know. Like it provisions your server for you. So if you're using AWS, Volta, if you're using DigitalOcean, Forge will hook into that and set up your server the Laravel way for you. But then you can configure it however you like. If you want to do your own manual billing and that kind of stuff, you got Cashier. If you don't want to use Spark and do something more manual, I could go on about this forever. Zero downtime deployment using Envoyer. So if you want to have a server that never goes down when you're updating the code, then you can use Envoyer for that. So it's all been like figured out for you. Okay, I'm going to go through a lot of the comments now because I can see a lot of stuff is coming through. Okay, did you gravitate? Yeah, I gravitated to Vue because of Jeffrey Way, who created Laracast. From my perspective, I think Node is easier, but I learned it first, so I'm always going to be biased. See, I actually think PHP is easier because I learned it first. But hey, like I have no idea what's true, like, about that. PHP is easier to me because it uses classes the way classes are probably supposed to be used. Classes in JavaScript is a bit of a mess. It still works, but it's a bit messy, and the whole prototype thing is a little bit confusing to me, or at least it was when I first started learning. Whereas PHP, I feel like the fact that it's got actual interfaces, like I don't have to use TypeScript or anything like that, and it's got actual abstract classes, it's wonderful. I love Firebase so much. We have very different preferences. I respect it, though. Yeah, totally. You know what? If you have never run into a brick wall with Firebase, wonderful. I don't see any reason to move away from Firebase or use something like Supabase, which is basically Firebase open source, if you'd like to go open source. 100% man, like Firebase all the way. Yeah, like Quasar. I picked Vue because Taylor Otwell advocated it, and my brother was a Laravel guy before I ever got into web dev. Yeah, I actually tried Angular before I tried Vue, and I hated it. And I was like, coding in this way is so stupid. Like, I hate, the whole reactivity stuff just felt so convoluted. And maybe the person who was teaching me, I think I was using Code School at the time, and it just didn't click. But Vue just clicked instantly. And I've barely played around with React. Thanks a lot, bookmarked. Yeah, awesome. Can you touch on the front end ORM because oh, okay, of course. So for the front end, I use Vuex-ORM. This was, the API for this was inspired by Laravel. So you can do stuff like, oh, this is wonderful. So with Vuex-ORM, you can do stuff like this once you've set it up properly. If you set up all your classes for your models and stuff like that, it will abstract Vuex for you, which is wonderful because Vuex is horrible to write. Like, let's be really honest here. Doing actions, getters, mutators, and trying to figure out modeling data that way is not fun. I never write Vuex code anymore unless I'm doing tutorials because I use Vuex-ORM, which allows me to do stuff like this. Post.find, and then pass it through an ID. And that'll get me back the post. Post.query, dot where, and then you can say, for example, name is equal to, or you could say like title is equal to my dash title. You can do stuff like that, and you can just filter through data that way and then say dot get. And so potentially what you could do is you could have a query, and then you could do some other functionality like other stuff, and then you could have like if, without archived, I'm butchering this, but you get the idea. Then you could grab this query. If you set this to a query, const query or whatever is equal to that, then based on some other logic, you could say query dot where archived is false, right? And so you can build up a query, and then at the end, once you finish building it up, you can say query dot get. So a lot of the stuff you get out of Laravel, you can now get, like the ORM with Laravel, you can now get using Vuex-ORM. And it's got many-to-many relationships, belongs to many, polymorphic relationships, all that kind of stuff. And it's currently being worked on for to be integrated with Vuex 5. So when we get all of the goodness of Vuex 5, which is going to be a totally different paradigm, we'll get all of that goodness. So I am obsessed with this framework. I almost never build anything without Vuex-ORM anymore. I see no reason to not use it, except unless you want a tiny file size for some weird reason and you think that it's too much of a file size, which it isn't for 99.99% of cases. So unless you are working on the Google landing page, I would highly recommend checking something like Vuex, or like checking out Vuex-ORM. And basically what it does is you define your models, and then when you make a request, so this is the magic, right? Oh, this is the magic. When I get something from the backend with Vuex-ORM, let's just imagine I get an object like this, and I've got my user sitting inside of there. Or let's just say this object is the user, and then that user has got many posts, all right? And so we've got, for example, a post with an ID of 1, and I'm going to leave out the other data for now. And then we've got a post with an ID of 2. And then that post has comments as well, right? And then that comment has got like an ID of 4, right? The problem with this is how do you then query that on the front end? You need to normalize this data. It is a best practice to basically take this data, pull it apart so that it's not nested anymore. And you've got something like this, comments, and then you've got all of your comments sitting in a store. Actually, it would be an object with like the ID of that comment. So for example, 4, and then the comment itself. This is what you're supposed to do. This is the right way to do it. It means you can fetch your data more efficiently because you're doing it via IDs and you don't have to iterate over arrays all the time. This is how you are supposed to handle data that has been fetched from the backend when it's deeply nested, at least for the most part, right? What Vuex ORM allows you to do is you can say, for example, user.insert, and then you can say the data for that user is equal to that, right? So you can imagine it wouldn't actually look like this. In the end, it would look more like this. Response.data, okay? And then that will not only insert the user, it will insert, because it knows about the relationships, it will also insert all of that user's posts, and it will also insert all of those post comments. And it pulls that apart and basically creates, it's kind of like creating a flat MySQL database or Postgres database, whatever you want to call it. It will kind of like create a database on the front end with the response data. And the cool thing about that is you can now more efficiently query that data, and everything is normalized. So if we get a user, if we get a post that has been updated with that request, then inside of our posts, that, let's just say it had an ID of 4, and we already had a post with an ID of 4, then the post that is nested within there is going to update this post here, which is exactly what you would want, because it means that you've got the latest data that you fetch from the backend. There are so many benefits to this, and that's one of the reasons I love Vuex ORM, because it pulls it apart, but then it allows you to piece it back together again by saying user dot, and then, I didn't even show you this. Then I can say user dot with, and get me that user with all of its posts and all of its comments. It is literally that simple. And then you can also do querying based off of the with statements, like all that complex stuff is implemented as well. So now that is going to give me my user with all of that user's posts and all of that user's comments. And hey, maybe you also want the users related to those comments. You can then add dot, maybe like it's an author model, dot author. That kind of thing is possible using Vuex ORM. It's freaking amazing. I love it. All right, I'm going to go through the questions and see what else we've got here. Spark, can you touch on the front end ORM? Yeah, okay, so that's the ORM. Spark is really impressive. I own a license key I'll probably never use now. Yeah. Oh, did you just get the license then? Yeah, Spark is awesome. If you ever want to sell a product, Spark is just absolutely wonderful. My brother also loved Laravel Forge. Not sure if that's still a thing. Yeah, I've got all my servers on Forge. I think I've got like 6 servers. Quasar is currently using Forge, but in the future that's going to switch to Laravel Vapor. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can basically have databases all over the world that are in sync, and everybody all over the world will be able to use Quasar Cast fast. Right now it sits in France because that's where most of my audience is, but then later on, no matter where you are in the world, it's going to be fast. Echo, like WebSockets. Yeah. Echo is a cool name for it because, it's like echoing something that's happened on the back end. I really love that name. No server needed, only for Quasar. I'm not sure what you mean by that. No server needed. Maybe it was related to something else. Envoyer is French verb. It's translated by to send. Oh, cool. That's really cool to know. Wow, I actually genuinely love Vuex. Never tried Vuex ORM though. I've got to try. Yeah, I do like Vuex, but I think the new way of doing Vue, like, by the way, a little bit of information that's really good to know. Pina, for those of you that don't know about Pina is actually based on the Vuex 5 RFC. I didn't know this till recently. So if you want to use Vuex 5, I recommend using Pina because it's basically like using Vuex 5. However, it won't necessarily be easy to migrate from Pina to Vuex 5. Having said that, migrating stuff from the Composition API is a little bit easier simply because Composition API allows you to do a lot of code stuff that's kind of difficult, like code update stuff that was kind of difficult before we had the Comp API. Yeah, so definitely check out Pina if you like Vuex. And keep your finger on the pulse for Vuex 5 because when that's released, the whole game of dealing with a store is going to completely change. Not completely change, but change a lot at least. Okay, what was this last thing before I go? Because my girlfriend just got home and I want to give her a big hug and a kiss. No, I tried Laravel first and left it for Node. I say I learned Node first because I took it more seriously. I've had the Spark. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and look, I'm probably not the best person to talk about Node because I am such a Laravel fanboy. It's like Nintendo fanboys. I am a shameless Laravel fanboy. I think the framework is just wonderful. I would say I'm obsessed with it. I'm probably almost as obsessed with Laravel as I am with Quasar. Probably a bit more Quasar. But yeah, I gotta head off. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. This has been a blast. And thank you for that question, which sent me on this massive, massive tangent. But I enjoy it. So I had a blast. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And yeah, we'll work a little bit more on this probably in a future stream. All right. Bye for now.